Okay, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking very closely at Psalm 31
Okay,
from the New Living Translation of the Bible.
gotcha.
You can find that over on YouVersion. It is attributed to King David.
hmm
And we even have a little note here for the choir director,
Oh, wow.
which I think kind of tells you something right off the bat. You know, this wasn't just like a private diary entry, right?
Right. Yeah, a lot of the Psalms were meant to be recited or sung by, a group of people. So, we're definitely dealing with some pretty personal emotion here, but it also really speaks to just, universal human experience across the centuries.
Yeah, and I think that's really what we want to do in this deep dive today. We really want to unpack some of the core themes and the feelings within these verses
Okay.
and just kind of see what this ancient text might reveal to us today.
I like it.
So we're going to be navigating some ideas around trust. You know, the challenges, distress, the human desire for protection,
Okay,
and the power of hope.
cool.
So let's jump right in. In verses 1 through 3, we're immediately met with this pretty urgent request, right?
Okay.
O Lord, I have come to you for protection. Don't let me be disgraced. Save me, for you do what is right.
Wow, that's pretty direct.
Yeah, it's pretty direct and immediate, right?
It is. And what's really interesting to me is why does the speaker feel entitled to ask for this?
Right.
It's rooted in this idea of that God does what is right.
Yeah.
It's not just a blind cry for help. It's appealing to this moral foundation, which I think, that's where the trust that comes later is built upon.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we get these really evocative metaphors for God,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
A rock of protection, a fortress where I will be safe. Like when you read that, you can almost feel like the speaker's vulnerability
Mhm.
and their need for this solid, unshakable refuge,
Absolutely.
right? It
Yeah.
makes you wonder, like, what kind of threats are they up against?
Right. What's
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, and these aren't just like abstract concepts. I mean, these are images drawn from the physical world. They would have been super meaningful. I mean, if you think about David himself,
Right.
a shepherd who would have literally sought shelter, amongst the rocks in strongholds.
Huh, right.
These metaphors, they really connect to that deep need for security
Yeah.
in a world that can be dangerous. It suggests a source of safety that is both enduring and it can't be broken into.
Yeah, that's such a great point about David's background.
Yeah.
It really does kind of ground those images. And
Mhm.
and the motivation here isn't solely about personal safety either. Verse 3 goes on to say, "For the honor of your name, lead me out of this danger."
What does that imply to you? Like, why frame it that way?
That's really interesting. It kind of suggests this relationship where the speaker's well-being is actually intertwined with the reputation of the divine. It's almost like the speaker is saying, you know, um, my deliverance will reflect positively on your character.
Yeah.
So it's not just about me being saved. It's about upholding the integrity and the power of God's name, in the eyes of others.
Right.
So it adds this weight to the request, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move on to verses 4 through 6.
Okay.
Here we find this really deeply personal declaration.
Mm-hmm.
I entrust my spirit into your hand.
Wow.
It's got a profound statement.
Mm.
What does it really mean to entrust something as essential as your spirit like that?
I mean, that signifies just complete and total surrender. It's a handing over of one's very essence. The core of who you are, it speaks to just an ultimate level of trust and dependence. It's almost a recognition that, I have my own limitations and I need to rely on a higher power
Right.
to keep me safe. It's like saying, I can't control this anymore. I'm putting the most vital part of myself in your care.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's this striking contrast in verse 6.
Okay.
I hate those who worship worthless idols. I trust in the Lord. When we talk about worthless idols, what could those represent in a broader sense for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like beyond, literal statues? What might the speaker have been turning away from?
Yeah. I mean, in a broader sense, these worthless idols could symbolize anything that people, put their ultimate faith or security in,
Right.
that ultimately fails them. Fleeting pleasures,
Right.
the pursuit of wealth, human power, even false ideologies.
Hmm.
The speaker is making it really clear here that, that's not where they're going.
Yeah.
They're rejecting these unreliable sources of comfort in favor of a trust that they believe is firmly placed.
Right.
And maybe they'd seen other people put their faith in those sorts of things and be disappointed.
Oh, right. Right.
Or maybe even themselves.
Yeah.
You put your trust in the wrong thing,
Right. Right.
you're gonna get burned.
That makes a lot of sense. Verses 7 through 10 mark a real shift in tone, don't they?
Okay.
We move into this acknowledgement of past help, right?
Right.
You have seen my troubles, and you care about the anguish of my soul, which suggests a history of reliance.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're immediately confronted with this really intense description of present suffering.
Right.
Tears blur my eyes. My body and soul are withering away, dying from grief. Years are shortened by sadness. Sin has drained my strength. Like that paints a really vivid picture of just utter devastation.
It really does. And what's really impactful, I think, is that this suffering is affecting every part of their being.
Yeah.
It's not just emotional distress. It's physically debilitating.
Right.
It's even spiritually draining. He mentions sin weakening him.
Right.
This kind of total suffering that he's going through, it really emphasizes the depth of this crisis that he's facing. It's more than just a setback. It feels like a complete breakdown on multiple levels.
It really does convey that sense of being just utterly consumed.
Yeah.
By hardship, right?
Yeah.
It's not just a bad patch. It feels existential almost.
Yeah, this is big.
Yeah. And that kind of leads us directly into verses 11 through 13, where we hear about this really painful experience of isolation and fear. Right. Scorned by all my enemies and despised by my neighbors, even my friends are afraid to come near me. That's a particularly brutal form of suffering, right?
It is.
It's like feeling abandoned by your support network.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to face external threats is one thing, but to feel rejected and avoided by those closest to you really amplifies the pain and vulnerability.
Yeah.
It speaks to just a profound sense of loneliness and the potential social consequences of the speaker's troubles. It really makes you wonder, like, what kind external pressures must have been going on to cause even his friends to distance themselves.
Yeah. And then the simile in verse 12, I am ignored as if I were dead, as if I were a broken pot. It's so powerful and evocative. Like, what does that imagery bring to mind for you?
The image of a broken pot, it suggests something that has no value anymore. It has no utility. It's something that's discarded and easily forgotten.
Yeah.
And to be treated as if you were dead, implies that you've been erased from the community.
Right.
You no longer matter. You're not even acknowledged. It really highlights that dehumanizing effect of such a profound isolation.
Right.
It's like he's become invisible to those around him.
Yeah, yeah. And then layering on top of that internal and social pain, we have the external threats.
Okay.
Described in verse 13.
Right.
Right. Rumors, terror, and enemies conspiring against me, plotting to take my life. It's like this cascade of pressures coming from all sides.
Absolutely. And I think that internal distress and the social isolation just fuel the perception of external threats.
Right.
And those external threats, in turn, make the internal turmoil worse.
Mm-hmm.
So, it creates the sense of being completely surrounded by danger, both real and imagined. It's a very precarious and frightening situation.
But then in verses 14 through 16, we see this really remarkable turning point.
Okay.
Right. After this litany of despair, the speaker says, but I am trusting you, O Lord, saying you are my God. Like it's such a powerful moment.
Yeah.
Right? It's this conscious decision to actively choose faith in the face of this overwhelming adversity.
It is. It's a forceful act of the will.
Yeah.
After fully acknowledging just how much he's suffering and how isolated he is, he makes this conscious choice to go back to that foundational trust.
Right.
That he expressed at the beginning. It it highlights the resilience of the human spirit.
Yeah.
And the power of faith is a deliberate act.
Yeah. And then comes this incredibly significant statement about the future. My future is in your hands. That feels like complete surrender of control, but also, as you mentioned earlier with the metaphors, like maybe a reclaiming of agency in a different way.
Right, right.
Right. It's like I can't dictate what happens,
Yeah.
but I know who holds the ultimate power.
Exactly. It's giving up personal control
Right.
when you're faced with the unknown.
Yeah.
But it's also this powerful assertion of hope and belief that, there's this guiding force out there that can navigate the future even when the present just seems completely overwhelming.
Right.
And by placing his future in divine hands, he's expressing this deep conviction that there's still a path forward, even if he can't see it himself.
Yeah. And following this renewed declaration of trust, the plea for favor and rescue is reiterated.
Yeah.
Almost with a stronger sense of conviction this time, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. I think, reaffirming that core trust seems to embolden the speaker,
Yeah.
give him a renewed confidence to ask for that divine intervention.
Yeah.
It's like the foundation has been rebuilt,
Right.
allowing for this renewed appeal.
Yeah, absolutely. In verses 17 through 20, we encounter this interesting juxtaposition of prayer for the downfall of the wicked, alongside profound praise for God's goodness.
Okay.
The speaker asks that the wicked be disgraced and their lying lips silenced. It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
And perhaps one that some might find jarring.
Yeah. I mean, it's important, I think, to understand this, in the context of the speaker's suffering,
Right.
and the harm that they've experienced at the hands of these individuals. It's an expression of a deep desire for justice and for truth to ultimately win out.
Yeah.
It reflects, this really deep sense of having been wronged and a longing for vindication.
Yeah, but then the tone shifts to this beautiful, comforting description of God's goodness, described as stored up for those who fear you.
Right.
And lavished on those who seek refuge in God. The imagery of being hidden in the shelter of your presence, safe from conspiracies and slander. It's really striking.
It is. It provides this powerful and reassuring contrast to the vulnerability and isolation that he was talking about earlier.
Right.
It's this vision of ultimate safety and security that you can find in the presence of God. The sanctuary where you're protected from both physical threats and the damaging words of others.
Yeah.
It speaks to this deep longing for peace and security.
Yeah. Verses 21 and 22 offer a specific example of God's unfailing love and protection during a past crisis. He kept me safe when my city was under attack. It's almost as if the speaker is drawing strength and confidence from past experiences of deliverance to bolster their current faith.
Absolutely. Remembering specific instances of when you've been helped in the past can be so powerful, when you're going through difficult times now. It gives you tangible evidence. It's like a lived history of the trustworthiness of the one that you're relying on. It's like saying, I've been here before and you came through.
Yeah. And even in a moment of panic and doubt, when the speaker cried out, I am cut off from the Lord.
Right.
Verse 22 tells us that God still heard and answered their plea. Like that's such a significant acknowledgement of human frailty, right? Alongside divine faithfulness.
Yeah.
It shows that even in moments of perceived abandonment, that the connection can be restored.
Yeah. It adds this layer of realism to the speaker's experience, And I mean, even people with deep faith can have moments of doubt and fear and feeling disconnected.
Right.
But the crucial element here is recognizing that even those cries of doubt are heard and that the relationship can be restored through mercy and grace.
Yeah. And finally, we arrive at verses 23 and 24, which feel like a direct encouragement to others. Well, all right. Love the Lord, all you godly ones.
Yeah.
And the reason given, God protects those who are loyal to him, but he harshly punishes the arrogant.
Hmm.
It's like a call to the wider community
Right.
based on the speaker's personal journey.
It is, yeah. It broadens the perspective from the individual to a communal understanding
Yeah.
of the relationship between humanity and the divine, and the principles that govern that relationship. It's inviting others to embrace that same trust and loyalty that the speaker has found to be so powerful.
Yeah. And the psalm concludes with these really empowering and uplifting words.
Okay.
So be strong and courageous,
Hmm.
all you who put your hope in the Lord.
Wow.
It's like the final takeaway message.
Yeah.
A call to action
Hmm.
rooted in the very faith that has sustained the speaker through all of this hardship.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that even when you're facing adversity, hope and courage are possible when they're based in deep and abiding trust.
Yeah.
It's encouraging all of us to persevere.
Yeah. So as we conclude this deep dive into Psalm 31,
Yeah.
we've really journeyed through a range of human emotions,
Right. Yeah.
and experiences.
Definitely.
We've witnessed the speaker's just raw vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
and intense distress, but also this unwavering commitment to trust in this protective force.
Yeah.
We've seen the stark contrast between the dangers posed by external threats
Mm-hmm.
and the secure refuge that's offered by the divine.
Right.
And ultimately this ancient text leaves us with this really compelling call to both courage and enduring hope.
Indeed. It serves as this timeless reminder of the human need for connection and security when you're going through all of the challenges that life throws at you.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you move through your day, just think about those times in your own life when you felt vulnerable, under pressure, even attacked.
Yeah.
Whether in huge, significant ways or even just those
Yeah.
everyday struggles. How might these honest expressions of trust and the imagery of protection that we've explored in this ancient text, how might that resonate with your own experiences? Could it maybe offer a new way of thinking about where you might find strength and peace in those moments? It's definitely something to consider.
I think so.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.